ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. So welcome to our Saturday morning session. Today we will start chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita, and we will start with verse number 4. This chapter is called Gun Tray Vibhag Yog. Gun Tray Vibhag Yog means the Trigunatmak Prakriti that has been explained in this chapter in great detail, and this chapter is extremely useful for those who want to do sadhana in their life, who want to actually exercise control over their actions and the thinking of mind. So this will give us very practical hints, and we will now continue on this chapter. So starting from verse number 1. श्री भगवान बोले, ज्ञानों में भी अति उत्तम ज्ञान परम ज्ञान मैं तुमको फिर से कहूंगा, जिसको जानकर सब मुनिजन इस संसार से मुक्त होकर परम सिद्धि को प्राप्त हो गए हैं. Now, Lord Krishna is actually behaving like a dedicated teacher, guru. Though he has told so many things to Arjuna in the previous chapters, he continues to re-emphasize some of them with greater detail. And that is what he did in chapter 13, and now he is continuing in chapter 14. So here he says that ज्ञानों में भी अति उत्तम परम ज्ञान. Now param shabd, param word has been used in all the Indian ancient writings to denote that there is nothing beyond that. That is the culmination of knowledge. So culmination of knowledge means that where you reach the pinnacle, you reach like the top of the Mount Everest. Beyond that you cannot climb. And from there, you don't come back. Param means you also get completely in union with the Supreme, and therefore you don't have to come back. So Param Gyan means he is reiterating that knowledge, and he is telling him that this is the culmination of the knowledge which I am reiterating to you. And many of the saints who followed this path, they have been able to overcome this world, and they never return back. They have attained what we call total liberation or mukti or moksha. Now sansar se mukt ho ke. Now the word sansar we should understand little better today. Sansar is one we see all around us. The physical objects which we see all around us, this is what we understand as sansar. All the earth, all the buildings, cities, and the construction all around us, the physical objects. But in real terms, this is not really the sansar. Sansar is a state of mind which keeps us rotating in this world. Sansar is the one which keeps attracting our mind. If we take, for example, the power structure, the mind is attracted to that power structure. We want to attain new and higher level of power. We want to attain higher level of prosperity or higher level of income. Now that is the wealth we want to accumulate. Or somebody wants to have more and more refined sexual life. Somebody wants to have more and more prestige in the society. So the world, physical world attracts them, but actually this attraction starts from the mind. The mind is the one which is all the time rotating. If we analyze our mind during the daytime, you will feel that it's all the time, thinking over the same and same and same things again and again. You try to bypass certain things, something new will come up, and then after a while again the old things will come up. And if you take a very deep analysis of the mind, we will find that it is all the time rotating on certain objects. Now, that rotation on some certain objects with the attraction of the physical world outside is actually sansar. And why does the mind rotate? Mind rotates because we have certain desires, and desires can be fulfilled only in the future. They cannot be fulfilled today. If you have a desire now, obviously you need time to fulfill it. So the time in the future is a basic requirement to fulfill all the desires or all the vasanas. So this is what mind needs. Mind needs the future tense. Mind needs to fulfill all the desires and vasanas. And the rotation of mind in this world of attraction is the one which is constituting our sansar. So, this is what we mean by sansar. Sansar means the combination of the physical attractions outside. They may be in the form of power structure, in the form of wealth and money, in the form of sexual desires, in the form of prestige in the society, whatever may be the attractions outside. Their combination with mind or their association with mind creates a world of our own, a sansar of our own. Because the physical world is the same, but every one of us has a different sansar. Somebody is involved in, is in his, for example, family affairs. Somebody is involved with the children. Somebody is involved with neighbors. Somebody is involved with the society to acquire more and more prestige. Somebody is struggling for power. So every one of us has a different sansar because of these two things. One is the attractions in the world. Secondly, what attracts your mind, then your mind gets inclined towards those attractions, and then we create our own world. So this is what sansar is, and the sansar chakra means it's rotating all the time. It's rotating with the help of mind. Mind rotates because of the desires, which takes it in the future. So this is what we have to understand here. Those people who have been able to acquire this param gyan, they stop rotating in that sansar and they acquire liberation, total what you call moksha from this world. So this is the verse number 1. Now verse number 2. इस ज्ञान को आश्रय करके अर्थात धारण करके मेरे स्वरूप को प्राप्त हुए पुरुष सृष्टि के आदि में पुनः उत्पन्न नहीं होते और प्रलय काल में भी व्याकुल नहीं होते. Now there are two things here. One is that we have seen what is Kshetra and what is Kshetrajna. And Lord Krishna has said both are Anadi. Kshetra is also Anadi, Kshetrajna is also Anadi. So what is this Pralay Kal? And what is end of the world? Though the Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the physical world existing around us, the 5 gross objects, and all the associations with it, which we discussed in the previous chapter, the 24 items, and the Kshetrajna, the irreducible, eternal, consciousness. These two are anadi. They never come back, they are never destroyed, both are existing. Then what is the reference to Srishti ke Adi mein? What do you mean by Srishti ke Adi mein? Srishti ke Adi mein means that though the Kshetra and Kshetrajna are existing forever, the cycle of life starts at a particular point and then continues and then ends at the end of that cycle. Like our life, in our life, for example, we have 2 elements. We have Kshetra, which is the physical, constitution, body, mind, intellectual, sense organs. and the consciousness, though both are eternal, but their combination starts at a particular moment and then ends at a particular moment. So that is the beginning of our life and end of our life. Similarly, in the Srasti Chakra, in the entire universe as well, there is a beginning and there is an end. The beginning starts when the Kshetra and Kshetrajna start working together, and then they continue for a while, and at the end of that cycle they disassociate from each other, and that becomes the end of Yuga. So the Yuga cycle is based on that. It is actually what we call Kalp. The Kalp is basically 1 day of Brahma, which is equal to 4.32 billion years. That is Srasti. The Srasti starts in the beginning of the Kalp, and after 4.32 billion years, it comes to an end. That is called Pralaya. And then the Pralaya stage for 4.32 billion years again, that is the night of Brahma, and then it restarts. So the reference here to the beginning of Srasti is to the beginning of Yuga, where which will be explained in the next two verses, how the Srasti begins and how the Srasti ends. So Lord Krishna is saying here that those people who have been able to acquire this Param Gyan, they actually do not take birth in the beginning of this Yuga, and at the end when the Pralaya happens, they are not affected in any way. They are not scared, they are not fearful of anything, because they are established in themselves. For them, the cycle of Srasti and the cycle of birth and death has come to a standstill. They have stabilized themselves in a particular point in time, and therefore they are unaffected by both the cycles, cycle of life and death and the cycle of the Srasti and Pralaya. So this is the verse number 2. Now verse number 3. हे अर्जुन, मेरी महत ब्रह्म रूप मूल प्रकृति संपूर्ण भूतों की योनि है, अर्थात गर्भाधान का स्थान है, और मैं उस योनि में चेतन रूप गर्भ को स्थापन करता हूं। इस जड़ चेतन के संयोग से सब भूतों की उत्पत्ति होती है। नाउ दिस इज द मोस्ट deep or deepest science we can say of the beginning of this universe. Beginning of this universe in the sense of beginning of Srasti, the activities, the stored energy comes into action, stage in action, and then comes to an end. How that happens? This is the first verse which explains it. When the Srasti starts its beginning, it starts, it's the first seed of the Srasti comes into being. Now he says there are two elements. There are two elements, there is the father element and the mother element. The mother element is the Kshetra. Mother element is this nature, the physical nature, which is constituted of 5 gross elements and which is associated with 5 sense organs of action and 5 sense organs of perception in the human being. So that those 15 objects plus 5 tanmatras in their purest form, these 20 plus he says Mahat Brahma Roop, Mahat Tattva, that is the atom of the atom from where the Srasti begins. Those things, they give birth to this cycle of life. The cycle of life begins with the combination of the mother element and the father element. In the father element is the consciousness, which he says that in the garbhadan of nature, I put the seed of consciousness. From there, all the species of life come into being. Now, this is what we believe in Vedic parlance. They say that the life of the human being began with Manu and Satrupa. Satrupa is the first female, Manu is the first male. In Christianity, they link it with Adam and Eve. Maybe in other religions also there is some beginning somewhere. In Chinese, they say yin and yang. So there are female and male elements everywhere. But here, Lord Krishna is not talking about the human species alone. He is talking about all species that exist in this universe. He says that all these species, they take their birth in the yoni of nature, which is the place where the birth or the seed of the birth is sown, and the seed is the consciousness which I embed into this nature. So the two put together, the combination of the nature and the consciousness, gives this universe a beginning of life. The beginning of life happens with that seed. So the nature is always there, the consciousness is always there, but the combination starts at a particular moment, and that combination gives birth to Srishti, to the beginning of life in this universe. Like, for example, we take an example. We talk about new materials in today's world. People, a lot of scientists have created new materials by combining many, ancient materials. For example, you combine steel, where you combine carbon and iron. And with the help of that, maybe you create a steel, a good quality steel. Now, the good quality steel is the combination of the two elements, that is iron and carbon. Now, once the two elements are separated from each other, the steel comes to an end and the two elements go back to their original form. Similarly, like brass is, for example, is a combination of two, three metals. Now those metals are combined. The brass is in existence. Once those metals are segregated, the brass comes to an end, and those metals go back to their origin. Similarly, the the two elements, nature and consciousness, or we can call them matter and consciousness, or nature and consciousness, or kshetra or kshetragya, or whatever name you give them. These two elements, when they come together, the life starts in the universe. As long as they continue in that form, the life continues. And when the segregation happens, the life comes to an end. And that is the cycle of yuga, and this is called kalp. One kalp is equal to one day of Brahma, which is 4.32 billion years. So this is what Lord Krishna is saying. This is how the life begins in all species of life, and then how it comes to an end. Now next verse number 4. Hey Arjun, नाना प्रकार की सब योनियों में जितनी मूर्तियां अर्थात शरीरधारी प्राणी उत्पन्न होते हैं, प्रकृति तो उन सब की गर्भ धारण करने वाली माता है, और मैं बीज को स्थापित करने वाला पिता हूं. So the father and mother principle has been further explained here, very clearly specifying that all species of life, in whatever form they are, starting from an insect, an ant, right up to an elephant or a human being, all the species of life have come into being because of the combination of kshetra and kshetrakya. When the two are combined, the life begins. When the two are segregated, the life comes to an end. So this is the what you call deepest science. The modern science talks only about matter. They try to break the matter. They first came to atom, then they broke the atom, and they say that there were proton, neutron, electron, and now they claim that even proton can be broken further, and then they have something else. But the fact is that finally, when you keep breaking the matter does not exist. It becomes waves. That is what modern science has come to know. So in their conclusion also, the matter does not exist. And in Indian philosophy, we have always said that matter only appears to exist. It does not exist because it appears. That is why the word Maya has come into being. Now, Maya is a sort of illusion, which it's not an illusion, but it gives us an illusion that the matter exists. But as the science has come to a conclusion today, that when you keep breaking matter, ultimately it should get reduced to a smallest particle. But no, it finally get reduced to waves. There's no matter at all. And now they are trying to explore how matter comes into being. And that is where this theory of God particles has come into being, which has not been conclusive at all, which is still in the field of research. Now, we also see that in day to day life. We see day to day life. For example, a tree. A tree has life, it has both consciousness and matter. You put it to fire, the whole tree is destroyed. A very small quantity of ash remains, but if you continue to burn that ash, that will also be destroyed. It will reduce to nothingness. The smoke will be, disappearing in the space. It reduced to nothingness. So that is the state of matter. Matter, as per the scientific research, reduces to wave or nothingness. And that is why the Indian science in ancient times has explained that the matter's appearance is an illusion, and therefore they have called it Maya. So, this is what, when the matter and consciousness come together, they give birth to a new element which is also part of Maya. And that is why this whole species which we see in the world acting against each other or acting with each other, whether they are species of insects or animals or marine life or human beings or whatever other species, even plants and vegetable, they come out of nothing, and at the end they get reduced to nothing because consciousness is invisible. You cannot see that. It is beyond our sense organs. The matter is also actually Maya means, Ma means matter, Ya means no, no matter. Actually, it says no matter, it doesn't exist. So it's contradiction, but it gives an illusion of existence. So this is what Lord Krishna is saying here, that all this Maya which you see, it appears because of the combination of nature and consciousness which give birth to all those murti. The word which has been used in Sanskrit is murte. Whatever is manifesting, whatever is visible to us in a particular form, that is murti. Whether it is a mountain or it is a human being, all those are murtis. They appear to be in existence because of this combination. Once the combination is segregated, the matter goes to tanmatras, which cannot be seen, and consciousness in any way cannot be seen, and they go back to what we call Udgam, or the night of Brahma. And when they again come back together, the day of Brahma starts, the beginning of the Srishti. So this is what has been explained in two verses, the mother principle, the father principle, the combination of the two and the principle of Maya, how the Srishti appears, how it gives an illusion to us of an appearance, and how we remain, completely encircled by this illusion, and we are attracted by this world. So this is verse number 4. Now we'll take verse number 5. Hey Arjun, सत्व गुण, रजोगुण और तमोगुण, ये तीनों प्रकृति से उत्पन्न हुए गुण अविनाशी जीवात्मा को शरीर में बांधते हैं. Now this is, you see, the 5 tanmatras, they have these 3 gunas. 3 गुना, प्रकृति के 3 गुण, सत्गुण, रजोगुण, तमोगुण. ये तीनों गुण कॉन्शियसनेस को, जीवात्मा को शरीर में बांधते हैं. नाउ दिस इज अ वेरी प्रोफाउंड साइंस. हम शरीर में कैसे बंधते हैं? हाउ वी बिकम ए मूर्ति एंड हाउ वी कम इन टू बींग हियर. नॉट ओनली वी बट ऑल स्पीसीज ऑफ लाइफ. हाउ डू दे कम इन टू बींग? They come into being because of the 3 gunas of the nature, 3 attributes of the nature. When these 3 attributes join with the consciousness, all the murtis, all the manifestation in the world in the form of, images, or in the form of various, what you call forms, they appear. This needs to be understood very carefully. Why we come into this world? We come into this world because of these 3 gunas, these 3 attributes of nature. They bring us back into the world. Now we should understand at this stage what we call the theory of identification. The theory of identification is a theory. Let's take, for example, A identifies with B. Then the attributes of B will be reflected in A as well. For example, somebody identifies with Congress party. Now, the attributes of Congress behavior will also be reflected in that person because he has association with that party. So if somebody criticizes Congress, he will feel that he is criticizing me. If somebody has praise for Congress, he will feel he is praising me. Similarly, will somebody is associated with BJP, any criticism of BJP will mean for him that he is being criticized. Any praise for BJP will mean for him that he is being praised. Now this, he has nothing to do with BJP or Congress. He is not part of it, but he has associated. That association gives a link and that creates an impact. Let's take another example. You go to a theater, you watch a film. Now you identify in that film with the hero or the villain, whatever case may be. You identify with the hero, for example. Now hero faces a lot of trouble and he faces existential crisis. You also become like the hero in that moment. You also face an existential crisis in the theater. Though you have nothing to do with that hero. The hero is absolutely, a kalpanic, absolutely an imaginary character in the film. The film has nothing to do with real life. But that film is impacting on you because of your association with a person in the hero, in the film. So this is how the theory of association works. So precisely because of this association, these 3 gunas, which are part of the physical nature, they impact on us. And we start behaving in that fashion. Our association becomes with the nature very close, and that closeness causes all the, what you call ups and downs in our behavior because of that association of three gunas with the nature. Now, what is that three gunas? Those gunas we will study in very deep. They have been explained in greater detail in the subsequent verses. But at this stage, what we should understand how these gunas impact us. These gunas are part of nature. Our body mind complex is also part of nature because we eat food. Food is coming from the gross elements of the nature. The food is nourishing our body and also our mind, and those gunas are automatically becoming part of our body mind complex. For example, if you don't eat for 5 days, your mind will become very weak. You will not be able to work properly. You will not be able to concentrate. And therefore, the mind is also getting its power from the food, its energy from the food. And it has been explained earlier also that the body mind complex, including the intellect and the mind, they are part of the physical universe outside. Those five gross elements of the nature, they are nurturing the body, mind, and intellect in the body. BMI, body, mind, and intellectual abilities are nurtured. And since these three gunas are part of the nature, they become part of the body mind intellectual complex. And those three gunas impact our sense organs, they impact our mind, and they impact our intellect. For example, this is also said and also been explained that in the morning, most of us, when we get up, we have more sattvic thoughts. Our thoughts are more pure in the morning. With the dawn of the day, we have purity. During the daytime, from 10 onwards up to 5, 6, we are more rajas. We are all the time running, operating, working, thinking. A lot of passion comes into our life during that time. And that is the rajas period. A lot of rajas between 10 and 6 in the evening. And after 6 in the evening, the tamas starts dominating us. That is why, in the Sandhya time, it is very critical because that is the time when tamas dominates. And in the ancient time in India, you used to pray so that the tamas is not dominating your body mind complex. But today's time, you all know, we all know, that people go to bars, people go to nightclubs because the tamas dominates that time. And therefore, people have that tendency to do wrong things, to do gambling or to drink and, to do nightclubs and all kinds of things. So these are the three phases of our daily life also. Similarly, in our lifetime also we pass through more sattvic time in our childhood or say up to 18, 20 years of age. That is the time when we have more sattvic elements in our body. When we become adult from 80, 20 years of age right up to 50, 55 years of age, we are dominated by rajas. We have lot of what you call activities which are dominated by our race for power and money and prestige. So that is the rajas dominance. And in the third, part of our life, either we get into tamas life, or sometimes if we are able to take care of ourselves, then we go back to sattvic life again. Now, sattvic life in the later period of life, that is 60 onwards, comes into very, very few cases. Those who are able to acquire spiritual knowledge. Otherwise, you will find as the people become older, they become more and more tamasic in the later part of their life. So this is a structure of these three gunas in the day and in the life cycle of human beings, but these are part of the physical nature. That is why Lord Krishna will explain further down in other chapters that the food is also tamasic, rasic, and sattvic, because what you eat, how you eat, that also impacts your entire body, mind, intellectual complex. So this is the Triguna Prakriti, which comes into our physical being, which makes or which is embedded in our body, in our sense organs, in our mind, and in our intellect, which keeps guiding us. Now, how do we refine that? Those is a question of sadhana, which we will see gradually when we go deeper into this chapter. But at this moment, I would like to emphasize one very important aspect, which is the mind and intellect. Since mind and intellect are impacted by these three gunas, we can either purify our actions or we can make them more dirty through managing our mind. If we can keep our mind in a sattvic state, then we will be able to purify our daily actions in life, and we will do good of the society, we will do good of people around us. Our thoughts will be dominated by goodness of all humanity. But when our mind and intellect are under the influence of tamas, in that state, we will be having lot of jealousy, lot of hatred, lot of crimes in our mind. Our mind will be dominated by activities which we consider undesirable in the society, like crimes or hating somebody, hurting somebody, abusing somebody, stealing from others. All these crimes, they happen because of the dominance of tamas in our mind and intellect. The sense organs and the body are to a great extent neutral. They are impacted by our thinking process and by our intellectual analysis, and then we are directed in a particular direction. Similarly, if our mind is dominated by, or intellect and mind both are dominated by rajas, then we will be working very hard. We will put in a lot of efforts in expectation of acquiring wealth or power or name, whatever it may be. That you know quality of putting hard work to acquire something for what you consider reasonable or desirable in life, that is the tamas, that tamasic activity. So our mind and intellect are normally dominated by one of the three, either by sattvic or by rajas or by tamas. And depending upon that domination, we act. Our actions are influenced by our mind and intellect because of that dominance. That is how the human beings act in life. So, if we want to purify our activities, we have to concentrate how to purify our mind and intellect so that we see a clearer picture, so that we have what we call good of everybody in the mind. Like some people are very sensitive to others requirement. If let's take a simple example which I observe every day, you go or you are driving on the road. Now, some people drive carelessly, they don't care who is coming, who is going, who is on the left, who is on the right. They are dominated by their selfish desire. They don't have sensitivity towards others. So it means they are lacking in sattvic state of mind and intellect. They are dominated either by rajas or by tamas. Now, some people, when they park, they just park on the middle of the road and go away. Now, they have no sensitivity. Such people are again dominated either by tamas or by rajas. If you have sattvic, then you will think that I should not park in a wrong place where my car will be obstructing others. I should find a proper parking and I should park it there. These are just very simple examples. There are many examples in life. When you take action, when you think of others, when you think that we should not harm others by our actions, then that is means you are sensitive to others' interests. That means your sattvic element is dominating. When you are not sensitive to others' requirements, it means you are dominated either by rajas or by tamas. And then your activities will tend to be in those directions. So, this is what we have to understand by these gunas, that these gunas influence our mind and intellect profoundly. If we are able to manage that influence and bring more sattvic element into it, our activities, our actions will be good for the society, good for everybody. But if they are dominated by the other two gunas, rajas and tamas, then it is possible that we become either very selfish or we become highly criminal. These are the things which happen in our day-to-day life. So this is this impact of these gunas on our body, mind, and intellectual complex. And that association of gunas, how does it bring us back into this world? Why? Because whatever actions we do, these gunas will produce a seed because of those actions. And those actions, the seeds of those actions will bring us back into this world. And that is why Lord Krishna is saying that these three gunas, they bind this, consciousness, this jivatma into a body, mind, intellectual complex. Because that association of gunas with the karmas we have done produces a seed, and that seed brings it back into this world. So we must understand how to purify our mind. First, we have to rise from tamas to rajas, and from rajas to sattvic element, and then we go beyond the three. So this is the process which will be explained in the subsequent verses of this chapter. So this chapter is extremely important for our day-to-day sadhana, our day-to-day meditation, how we consider our actions, how we observe our actions, how the thoughts come into our mind. When the bad thoughts comes, how we can send them aside and bring the good thoughts in our mind. So this is the exercise we will do in the subsequent part of this chapter. So thank you very much. This is a very important chapter again. This will give us a path how we manage our life tomorrow. And this is very important for those who want to trade or treat on the spiritual paths. So thank you very much. We shall continue on this chapter in our next session. Thank you.